Well, today I'm happy to have these from Katy Designs. There are 4 packages. Every package has 3 sheets. They are all die cut. They are designed for layering, making 3-dimensional images that are however, you don't have to use every image. You can use some separately, so that's kind of fun. So I have 4 of them. I have cute and cuddly bears. I have filled with flowers. I have teacup and flowers, and just flowers. So all of those. And this is one of the projects we'll be doing today. So you can see there's just a lot that you can do with these. So won't you please come play with us? Okay, so as I said, we're going to use all 4 sets, and I'm going to place them with their appropriate project right now, and we're going to start with the cute and cuddly bear. So you can see there's 3 images. You can kind of see this is the full image, this one and this one. So just going to work really nicely. And like I said, there's 3 sheets identical, so you've got lots of things that you can do. So let me show you what I did with this one. So actually I want to tell you the neat thing about using these is because there are no backgrounds with them, it's just the die cut images. It gives you a chance to put different things together, and that was really fun. So let me show you what I did. So this is out of our Dazzle cards. And there are 4, this is called 4 corners. In fact, well, you can kind of see why it's called 4 corners, because there are 4 corners that have the art. That is printed in black on the cardstock. This is a 5 by 6.5 inch cards, our typical ones. And you're going to get 5 cards and 5 envelopes in the package. So that's nice. And something that we added just for you on the back so you can sign your name, because that's always fun. You do want to fold it, and then you're ready to go. So let me do that. Now, as you can see, what I elected to do was to create an oval opening. Obviously, I'm going to be using our oval cutting dies. Well, of course I am. And in the directions that are down below, just click on the card. You will see the directions. You can print them out if you want to. It will give you the sizes of things. So I did not use any of the scalloped. This is the 10 oval and scalloped. I just used the straight ones. And the way that you do this, if you've got a die cutting machine that has a 6-inch wide mouth, you might say, oh gosh, how do I do that? Okay, well, here's how you do it. So take this and put your cutting die on it with the blade down, and then flip this around and put a scrap piece of cardstock on top of it, because you're going to run it through the die cutting machine like this, the 5-inch way. That way it's going to work. And you will get an oval on the back of this, but it's okay, because we're going to cover that up with paper. Okay, so go ahead and die cut that out. And I would suggest that you, if you want to, save that piece, because on the next project we're going to be using it. So then I took this, placed it on my craft mat, and I wanted to create an edge around it. So I took out, this is the royal blue ink pad and my trusty blending brush, and you can see how I just brought it in from that cut edge. Now again, this is sitting on my craft mat, and just brought it like that. Okay, so that's going to do a nice job. I could have done the scallop, but that would have gotten me into the artwork, and I didn't want to do that. Okay, so this is a way to give me a bit of a frame without going into the art. Okay, so now these pieces are part of the die cuts, and so I'm obviously using this section. And there's one group that, now these are all lettered and numbered. So A1 is the big teddy bear. I haven't used that yet. So we've got 1, and these are the sequence in which you would normally layer them with foam tape if you were going to use all of them on one image. I never do that, practically never do that. So this time I took this one. This is part of A3, and I foam taped them there. Now I purposely foam taped them over the art because I thought with that little swirls and so forth that that would work nicely underneath those pieces. Plus I wanted to bring some of the yellow into the front of the card. Then A4 has got 3 individuals, so I took the full one and I have it pointing into the card, and I have these pointing up, so those daffodils are kind of leading your eye into the center of the card. Okay, it's something that I think is important to have any of the elements that are going into the front of the card. Okay, so the front's done. Both, by the way, both of those were foam taped, so there's a little bit of elevation. Now I used this. This is from Unexpected Beauty. Now that was a surprise, but as I went through my papers, I was looking for something that would play with my teddy bear. And I did a couple of things. So I found the blue, and I like that, and it has kind of a distressed look to it. I could have tried the yellow, but you see what happens? The teddy bear gets kind of lost. The tan is so close to the yellow that I didn't do that. So I just kind of played with it and selected this. Now, I wanted to ink the edges, and I wanted to make sure that I had the right ink color. Well, you know I already did on the front, but this is how I got to that color, is that I do this with my ink pads, is I stamp them onto a piece of cardstock, and then I write down what color they are. And then I have a chance to kind of go, okay, well, what color do I want? And in this case, it was obvious the ones I didn't want electric blue or blueberry or Air Force blue. But the Persian blue and the royal blue, now they look similar there, but in reality, it doesn't quite work that way. So what I do is I take a piece of the paper and that I haven't used. So I had already cut this to the size, which was going to fit inside my card, obviously. And I just started playing with it. So I took my, you can see it probably better that way. I took my blending brush into the color and just started coloring it to see, is that going to work or not? The, let's see, what was it, royal blue? The royal blue won the contest. And that way I've got it for sure. And I haven't gone into the full sheet so that I still have pieces I can use. So that's the process that I use. So that's exactly what I did. And I cut this down. And like I said, this is 6 by 6. I also wanted to share with you, you might be thinking, oh, why would Unexpected Beauty, which is very deserty, it's got cactus in it, how would that go with a teddy bear and daffodils? Well, it has nothing to do with the title. It has to do with the colors of the papers. And as I showed you, that blue I thought worked really well. It was a nice contrast to the yellow and the tan, and it picked up the blue that's in the art. The yellow was an option, it just didn't quite work. So that also came out of the Unexpected Beauty. So that's my recommendation, is to don't get hoodwinked by the title, look at the paper, as always. So here I have number 1 and number 2. In fact, this is the sheet that I used. So I used almost all the pieces. I guess there's a little tiny one I didn't use. So he's down, and I foam taped him down. And then number 2 is all of that. And that little foot was separate, but it's still part of number 2. So that goes down. And then, of course, this and that I've already used. So the bow at number 3 goes on. And then I had these other pieces left. So I thought, well, let's just do a little grouping right down here. So they're all just flat. But I don't have a message on this. You've got to have a message, of course. What are we thinking? So I used the Script Greetings Blue Dazzles. Okay, there's 3 sheets in here. The With Love just fit nicely. Now, you want to make sure that whatever it is not going to be showing when that card is closed, okay? So you want to keep that window really isolated to what you want the people to see. And that's what I did. And you can sign it on the back. Okay, so that's the first one. Okay, now we're going to get into number 2. And that's going to be using, this is the Filled with Flowers. Now this is different. In fact, I've got 2 of them like this, where there's one big piece and then all of the pieces that coordinate with it. And let me show you what I did with this. So here is the card that I showed you in the beginning. And it's pretty striking with that light and dark, isn't it? So this is my 5 by 6.5 inch card. And what I used here comes out of songbirds. Again, I'm looking at the papers to see what colors are going to work. With this being so light, very pastel, I decided that I wanted a heavier, a deeper color. But I still wanted in the scenes, you know, in that whole family of those colors. And so I really went through this with many different things. I just pulled out everything that had a pink that I thought might work, and Songbirds won the contest. So here I pulled out this pink, and I knew that the 6 by 6 was going to work because although my card is 6.5 inches, I know that if I cut my paper to be 6 inches, I will have a white edge, and that just works nicely because all of these have white in them. And I like the idea of that being duplicated in the edge of the card. Okay, so this is the pink I chose, and you will see on the inside that I chose a couple of other colors too. Now, I did want to, so I could have left it like that. This particular paper has a bit of a shadow on the edge. You can see that. So I wanted to keep that. In fact, I wanted to accent that. So, same idea. I went back into my ink pads. These are the 2 that I have for concrete and charcoal. And I ended up with charcoal. And charcoal, so same thing, I cut my piece the way I wanted. I elected to have that edge, so I trimmed that down. This is, my card is 5 inches. This piece of paper is 4.5. My card is 6.5 inches. This piece of paper is 6 inches. So I just took a 1/2 inch off each way. Pretty standard what we do all the time. So I took my paper and I trimmed it to fit and did not glue it down. But I tested, again, this on, let me show you, on the edge of the pink paper. So with the charcoal and my blending brush on a craft mat. Okay, I thought that worked pretty well. So then I set to work. Now, I did keep, smart woman that I am, kept my oval from the first project. Of course, we're not going to throw anything away. And I did then mat it or cover it with a blue. Now it's looking pretty dark there, but it's actually this blue out of the same songbirds. And again, the pink and the blue I thought worked nicely with the art. I also could have gone with the green that is in that same songbirds collection. So do you see what I'm saying? How all of those work nicely with the paper that's right there with that die cut. So I've used the pink. I've got the charcoal around it. I did go with the blue. I also just covered this and trimmed out an oval, although if you could just die cut it with the oval cutting dies, just like we did in the first project. Then I did also put the charcoal. Now I went a little bit further into that than I really intended, but I don't think it's bad. I think it just really this just punches out, even though it is so pastel-y. This is foam taped. Then I went into my pieces. Now again, I'm not using this. I'm going into the number. So I want to get the smallest number. So like this is number 1, I think. This is number 2. So this is obviously the one that I picked. And you can see that it's got this whole piece with the rose coming out, but it also has this little butterfly. So I did number 1 or number 2. Then I also did, let me turn this over because these are the pieces that I used. You can kind of see I didn't use this, and that is good enough and full enough that you could use that separately. So make a note, you don't have to use everything just because they put it there. Okay, so number 2, and then I went with this one, which is number 4. Now the only tricky part of this is this very narrow little handle that's falling down. So you probably want to get your foam tape under there, or definitely get it under all of those. Okay, so I've got this, and that is what I used on the front. Now this has a happy birthday and a on your special day and a mum, because Katy Sue is in England and they have mums, not moms. So I elected to pop this out. It already has a white mat, so I didn't have to do anything but foam tape it. Notice that I have that overlapping the oval. I do that intentionally because if everything is connected, it feels more finished to me. It feels like my eye is not darting around. My eye is right here, and that's exactly where I want it. There are several of these little blue butterflies, and I put one here, and I did the, whoops, wow, that was cute. Okay, well, I'll have to put a heavier ink under, or glue under it, but I did kind of lift those wings, so I will see if I can get that back to my office and fix it. Let's see, let me tuck it in there. Okay, now for the inside, I did elect to use that big piece. And remember the pink and the blue and the green? Well, I went with the green. Now, in the songbirds, there are these feathers down at the bottom. I really didn't find a need for those, so I cut my green so that those would not be used. So this is 5 inches tall. I did ink the edges with khaki. Khaki is my old friend that I use often, and placed it. Make sure that it does not go over the score line. And because this is a pretty big piece, I did trim it a little bit on the side. As you can see, I trimmed it right next to that bouquet. And so then I just simply glued it in place. And this kind of has an open area, so it was quite perfect for on your special day. And those have a white mat, so they just blended in nicely. Once again, I let them go off the edge, although it all still looks very coordinated. So that is the second project, and I've already lost the butterfly. Okay, stay there, baby. Okay, so that is the second card. Now, I've got something happening on this one, and this is using Teacup's flowers. So there are teacups in here. You can see it's very, very light against that light blue background. So here are the teacups separately. It also has these cupcakes. So Teacup Flowers has a happy birthday, tea and cupcakes just for you. So it has lots of different things going on. So what I elected to do was to, again, I went into some papers and I found the watercolor wildflowers. And this has pink. In fact, this is the pink that I used. It's on the back. Is this plaid. And so I elected to use that. Again, this is a 6x6. So from my card, now my card is 5 by 6.5, but I cut off 2 inches from the right. And I did that just to make it interesting. Also, I knew I wanted to use my corner dazzles, which I don't know that I've used before. Maybe I have, but I wanted to use them, and so this would be a fun way to do it. So I cut the plaid, as you can see, and the measurements are down below. There's something else that may not be obvious right now, but let me show you. Okay, here is the full teacup. Now, granted, this has got a white background, but I wanted to give it more definition. So I took the blueberry ink pad and I took this piece and my smallest blending brush and just went on the edge of the cup and didn't do any more because that's my first layer. So that went down. Then I'm going to go to, so that was number 2. This is number 3. I'm going to put that onto my craft mat. I'm going to do the blueberry on each edge. And can we get it super close to see that? Thank you. So you can see there's ink there. However, right here, you can't really see how the base of that is. So I put a Post-it note right here and went up with my blending brush. Then there is another layer, and that other layer is number 4, and it is the saucer. And I did the same thing with the bottom of that saucer with the blueberry. So number 2, I just inked the handle of the cup. Number 3, I did each side of the cup and the bottom of the cup. And number 4, I did the bottom of the saucer, and they are all foam taped in place. Now there are extra little flowers, so I put one on the saucer because I had a little bit of space there. And then I wanted to do something a little bit more dramatic. And I added, these are the border dazzles. We have them in black, and there's actually 2 kinds, 2 or 3, actually 3 different kinds, or 4 kinds of corners on here. So with the pink, I put the biggest one, the one here. Same thing on all 4. Now notice they are not at the edge of the paper. They are just about a 1/16 of an inch inside. I did that purposefully. So I did it on all 4. Then I took our black thin line dazzles and I put the straight ones to connect these. So they simply go in between them. But it kind of looks like it's all one piece, doesn't it? So that was neat. Then, because I had removed that other part of this, I took this border, or this corner, and I put it on all 4 of the corners. So I've got these 4 corners here, and then these 4 corners right there. So I still have all of this. So I've got plenty. And when you get it, it's going to look like this, but I just pulled the backing off so you could see this a little bit better. Okay, so that is my card front, and I don't know that you would really think about changing the art and giving it a shadow, but I thought that was an important thing to share with you. Okay, now the inside of the card, I took this sheet from the same paper collection, and I don't know why I don't have this out here separately, but I cut it so that it would be hidden when the card is closed. Okay, so that's important. And I placed that. I did the exact same thing. So here's for the outside. I put the exact same ones right there. Then I put a tinier one, and they're right down here, and put them on the 4 corners of this piece. Did the same thing with the straight line dazzles. And what's interesting is, and I'm going to ask you to get in close, well, you can kind of see it here. There is like a little curlicue at the end of these. And so when I placed my thin line dazzles, I did it going to the edge of that curlicue up to the next curlicue. So it worked just fine. And these are right there. Then I went into the art. Now, I did not use this piece, but I did use these 2. So I put one glued down and one foam taped pretty close to each other. I put the Tea and Cupcakes Just for You. I glued it between the 2, again down straight. The Happy Birthday I foam taped. And then, like I said, they're extra flowers, so I foam taped that one up there, just overlapping the happy birthday. Then you can kind of see it here. They're all kind of the same color. I mean, they're all very light. So I wanted to add more to them, so I added the bows out of our 1/8 inch ribbon collection, and you can see how many colors are there. So that was nice. I just zotted them in place, but that wasn't enough. So I wanted some sparkle, but I didn't want to add another color. So diamond dust, folks. Diamond dust is not just for winter. So diamond dust, you put a liquid glue. So I used my precision press, right? And put the glue. You could use your specialist glue and just squeeze it in. Then you want to have a scrap paper underneath because you're going to pour the diamond dust on, and it's going to immediately attach to the glue. And then you want to tap it off like that. Just, it's nothing harder than that. And then have your scrap paper so that you can scoop this and pour it back into the jar. And that's exactly what I did. Now, it means that you do need to let that dry before you close your card. But I was really happy with that bit of sparkle, adding a bit more to this very pastel color. I guess I said that on the last project too, didn't I? Very pastel. Okay, one more for you. And it is using the one that just says flowers, 3D flowers right there. So you get a lot of these. So you could go with this set, you could go with the yellow. Okay, so this is sweet pea, primroses, and bellflowers. I wanted to do something different, as you know, and so this is my card. And I'm going to put a piece of white under this, just so that you can see that a little bit better, okay? Because this is dark purple. And what I did is I took my Color Me. This is the doily card topper. Now this has 3 different styles in it. So this is the oval that I used. I guess I could open this up, couldn't I? That was silly. It has 2 of each. So this is the one that I use. You've got 2 of those. You've got this one. Remember that because I used it on the inside. It has another one that can go vertically or horizontally. And then it has one that has greetings and one that has all of those shapes without greetings. The neat thing about this is that the reason why it's called Color Me is because these are, it's like they've been heat embossed, like they've been stamped and heat embossed because it's raised. What that means, actually, I'll show you it when we go into the inside because that's where I used it as it is meant to be used. So step 1 after selecting this was to take this and I cut out around the scallop. You could have colored it with ink or pencil if you wanted to, but I just elected to trim it out. Now don't drive yourself crazy with this because it's really not going to show on the edging because it's going to go against a dark color. So just trim it out. The other thing I did is, because when you're cutting it, although this is just a thin piece of paper, you know, it's cardstock, I did take a black Sharpie and I just went around the edges. That way it covered up anything where I kind of got out of alignment. Not that my cutting isn't absolutely perfect, mind you, but that's what I did. So remember, black Sharpie will cover any error that you might have made. Okay, so here is my card. This is our regular 6.5 by 5 card. Because I chose these flowers, now again, they're the bell flowers, I wanted to accent that purple. So I went to purple suede, one of my great things. This is violet suede, and I simply covered my card with it. So that was step 1. Then I took my cutout oval, and I knew I wanted to do some ribbon. So in my purple ribbon set, I have the purple crepe, which is what I use, but I also have this 1/8 inch purple. So I took a strip of the crepe and I attached the ends to the back of this. I kind of went in between the scallops, and then I taped that down. I just used Scotch tape. So I just taped it down. Then I took the 1/8 inch and I squeezed it and knotted it here in the center. I did that so that when I placed a bow, the ribbon wouldn't be straight, it would go in, okay? So then I made my bow and zotted it in place. So I have these extra tails. I did zot them down also because I wanted them to stay where I put them, okay? Now, next step is to go into our papers, our die cuts. So as you can see, I elected to use them horizontally. Because the oval, I mean, I could have had them standing up, but I just thought laying down was nice, and it was fine to have. I hadn't done a bow like that, so I thought that was neat. So I have this, and I placed it, yes, like that. So okay, so I used the biggest one, and this is interesting that, okay, I've placed it this way. There we go. So this is step number C1. So this is on the sheet A, B, C. So this is C number 1. Finally, she's going to use them the way they designed them. So C1, and then I did not use C2 because you can use, it's really just kind of the same art. There's not a whole lot that's different. This little bit isn't there, and these little leaves aren't there, but it's pretty much the same. So I can use that somewhere else. But I did do C3. I'm just double checking because this is the piece that I used. And then I also put C5. So this one is right there, and then just this little guy is right here. And that's how I built that. And notice they're kind of tucking into that bow. So it was important to do that bow first, especially since this is foam taped on top. So there wasn't any forgiveness to it, okay? But couldn't change it in the middle. Now, my butterfly. Do you see my butterfly? Okay. My butterfly is a combination of my jewel butterfly acetate die cuts. Now, I did go in here, and obviously you can tell I picked the purple ones. So being jewel colors, it's pink. They're darker, they're a little bit darker colors. They're not the pastels. So pull that out. They're die cut. You just pop it out. But I wanted some shine, kind of like this card. I wanted something a little bit more. I wanted something a little bit more here. And I had the room also. So I used the glitter adhesive sheets. Now, these magical little pieces, there are 5, I think, in the sheet. They are A4 size, so they're bigger. They come with the acetate embedded with the glitter, so it's smooth on the top, and it's because it's an adhesive, because it's sticky on the back side, there's a backing paper. Now, usually I place my butterfly, stick it back here, and then just trim it out. This time, I did the same thing. I placed my butterfly there, but I put this down again, and then I trimmed around the edge of it. I did that because I wanted my butterfly to have a white backing. I wanted it to really show up. So that's why I did. Because I've got so much white here, I just wanted to have some more white around the edge of my butterfly. And you might be concerned that that the backing piece wouldn't stay, but it did stay. So that worked out just fine. Okay, and then I used extra sticky tape and put it just behind the body, about a 1/2 inch piece. That way my wings can flutter. Okay, so that's my front of my card. My inside, okay, this is where I used the Color Me in the manner that it was designed. And where are my sheets? There they are. Okay, so this is the one I used on the front. I still have another one. This is the one that I used because it fit perfectly, and this one didn't quite give me enough space. So I put this on my craft mat, and I took the violet ink pad. Wouldn't that be perfect? It's with the violet suede, and inked the edges. So what happens when you do this is it's going to resist. The black area is going to resist the color. And so I could just do my ink, and you can see I didn't mask anything off. I just did it with my blending brush. So on each of the long edges, and then I just scrubbed it into the middle there. So it left a little bit of a white edge. I didn't mask anything off. I just scrubbed it. And that way I had purple in 3 places. So then I put it into my card, glued it in place. Then I went into that sheet that I showed you that had the words. I could have used this and put dazzles or a stamp or something, but I decided to use the thank you very much. Trimmed that out, did not color it, foam taped it in place. Remember that little ribbon on the front? Well, I did a little bow there. Now this is one of the other butterflies, and let me show you. Here we go. That's what it looked like here without the white behind it. So it becomes very, well, it is very see-through. It's acetate, of course it's see-through, but this has the glitter on it. Can we get in closer? Because I'm not sure that you're seeing. There you go. So look at that, isn't that pretty? Okay, so that is with just the glitter acetate behind it and trimmed out, and not zotted. I used the extra sticky tape because that way it's clear and you're not going to see it. But it isn't as sparkly when you see it like that. Well, I guess it's not bad, but that's much more sparkly. So you've got 2 versions of the same butterflies used. Okay, now as with many cards, this could be a card front too, and this could be the inside. Or just do two fronts, whatever you like. So that is my last card for you. Okay, so, and as you can see, where are all of these pieces from Katy Sue? So here's 1, 2, 3, and there we go, 4. So you can see why this webisode was titled Cute Bunnies and Flowers, and needed to do something a little different with each one, and that's really kind of fun to do. Okay, so you've got my ideas, why I did what I did, and there is a money saver. Of course there is. It's on the right hand of the screen, and like I said, every single one of these packages has 3 sheets. So you have that, so you can do lots of different things with them, and that's really nice. They are paper, they're die cut, they're going to pop right out, no problem. So that works nicely. And I love having Katy Sue stuff. I've known her for years and years and years in the industry, so it's very nice to support her. Okay, there are directions down below. Just click on the card, you'll see it, and feel free to print them out if you want to, copy them or adjust them exactly as you see fit. That would be very nice. If you're watching us on YouTube, we would love it if you would head on over to paperwishes.com. It's the only place you're going to see these projects, get the instructions, and be able to find this product that I've been showing you. Okay, I want to thank you for joining us. It's been lovely, as always. And you can leave a comment whether you purchase or not. Just go down below the cards, go down below the instructions, and you'll see that. And that would be great. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed. I love doing it with you. And we'll see you again next time. Okay, bye-bye.